Hey everyone. So this is the Becoming Fruitful podcast. A brand new first episode. So please forgive me as I am learning everything kind of on the go. I wanted to start off with this episode with my testimony and just kind of make this whole episode about my testimony, what brought me to God, what led me to God, and where I'm now. So, I grew up in a Christian household. We went to church, Sunday school at least, every Sunday. We went to youth night Wednesdays. We did all of that, but I never felt like I had a real relationship with God. I was just having fun with my friends. And when I became a teenager, I really shied away from God. I was in that rebellious stage. I started doing worldly things. I completely just shut God out of my life and kind of did what I wanted to do. This continued on. I ended up having two beautiful daughters out of wedlock with two different guys. Um, I do not regret my daughters at all. Please do not think that. I love my children very, very much. But, it's just me and them. Their fathers are not involved. Um, and I just really want to share everything with you guys. I want to be completely transparent and honest. So I spent a lot of time depressed. I got really depressed after my youngest was born, and I had really bad mood swings. And eventually, my mom, after a while, was able to convince me to go get some mental health help. So they diagnosed me with depression. I got on some medicine, and then I went to nursing school. Um, During nursing school, I think I had my one of the first manic episodes I've ever experienced. And then I fell into a really bad depression, and it lasted for months. So, graduated nursing school, still super depressed. It was probably a little over a year after nursing school that I had my first attempt um, on my life. I was being attacked. I felt worthless. Everyone was putting me down. I did not know how to feel anymore. I felt like I was this loser, this imposter. Nobody needed me, just completely worthless, no self esteem whatsoever. And I had my first attempt. So I got help for that. I Over all the years now, I am 33. I've had 3 attempts. Each time I get admitted to the hospital, they get my meds straightened out, and so on. During all of this time, I was diagnosed officially with bipolar disorder. So, thankfully, I have an amazing doctor and an amazing Christian counselor, Christian therapist that helped me stay stable on my medications, and I am thriving at this point. But what a lot of people don't understand is that's not what brought me to God. In 2022, my dad was diagnosed with pancreatic cancer, stage 4. He was terminal. We got a year with him. And in 2023, May 18th, 2023, we lost my dad. After that, I kind of didn't know where to go from there, my dad was such an important person in my life. He was a great grandpa to my kids, and I miss him dearly. And it was very hard, and it just felt like something was missing. And this feeling carried over until one day I messaged my mom, and I was like, hey, can I go to church with you and the kids? Because my kids have always gone to church with my mom, and they love it. And she said, of course. So I started going to church with my mom. And for the first time in a long time, I felt something stirring in me. But it wasn't strong. It wasn't a super strong stirring. It was just something stirring in me. And I told God that I don't think this is right for me. And then I realized, well, why am I talking to God if this doesn't feel right to me? So I decided to start exploring other churches in the area. And I went to a couple, and then the church I go to now, my church home, from the moment I was greeted at the door to the moment that they walked me to a chair, it just felt different. It felt real. And then the preacher preached a sermon about stress. And at that time in my life, I was very stressed out. I'm a mom. I'm working full-time as a nurse. I have mental illness. I'm struggling with finances. I am very stressed out a lot of the time. And I felt such just this calm come over me. And I left in tears because I truly felt like God was speaking to me. God spoke to me in that moment and told me, this is where you need to be, Brittany. This is where you need to be. These are your people. And I kept going. I went back the next week, and I went back the week after that. And I've made several friends. That all happened in September. And then at that time I was still smoking cigarettes. In October, the beginning of October, I completely quit smoking. In November, I was baptized. I committed, went all in, and was saved. And it was, when I came up out of the water, it was like a breath of fresh air. I felt lighter. I felt good. And then in the spring, I actually went through a small group with some ladies through the church, and we did freedom. And what it is you go through this book called Freedom, and it goes over everything from like the tree of life to forgiveness to prayer. It just covers a whole bunch of different subjects. And then it ends with the Freedom Conference at the church. And that was life-changing for me. I once again felt just a calm and a relief, and the stress was just gone. And I mean, that was God. That was all God right there. That was all God. It was not long after that the spiritual attacks started. And they got so bad to the point where the second small group that I was in, I quit going. They got so bad that I was hospitalized again. And I felt worthless. And I felt like nobody loved me. And, you know, I kept talking to God and telling God, I don't know, why don't I feel better? Why do I feel this way? I thought we were doing good. And God would tell me, you are not worthless. You are worth everything to me. I love you. And I just didn't believe him. I didn't believe him at all. Because how could I believe someone and still be feeling this way? And that's when I realized it was the enemy that was attacking me. I eventually, got my meds straightened out because they did do some med adjustments. And I told God that I trust him. And that's when God told me that he wanted me to guide new believers in the faith. And I told God he was crazy. Because how could I, who has been in the mental hospital 4 times now, has attempted to unalive themselves 3 times now, has struggled with bipolar disorder, has struggled with not being the best mother, has struggled with, worldly things, sexual immorality, addiction. How could I guide new believers? It sounded crazy to me. And that's what I told God. I was like, you're crazy. And then the enemy would tell me, you're right. He is crazy. He doesn't know what he's talking about. You're not worth doing that. And God would come back and be like, I want you to guide new believers. I believe in you. And there was a lot of back and forth. There was a lot of infighting between God and the enemy and me. I repeatedly told God I was unqualified. I'm not qualified. I'm a new Christian, a baby Christian, as many people refer to it. And I was like, how could I possibly guide new believers when I barely know what I'm doing myself? And God told me, I will guide you. I will do it. And finally, it's probably the beginning of July, I told God, okay, I'm in. I'm all in. I'm throwing it all in. I trust you. And that's when I started my business, The Fruitful Fig. And the Fruitful Fig we sell anointing oils. We sell mini beginner Bible study kits, Bible journaling kits. We sell new believer boxes. We even sell the cute little Bible tassels. So far, that's all that we sell. All of that was God led me to do, and I did it. I'm all in. This is what God is telling me to do, so this is what I'm going to do. And I started making all this stuff and putting together all of this stuff that he is telling me to do. And then it comes to trying to sell it, and I'm like, God, I don't know what I'm doing. And he just goes, trust me. So I have been waiting, and I trust him. Now, all of a sudden, my TikTok is blowing up. And I'm like, what is going on? And it's because of God. It's all because of God. I mean, I'm on there talking about God every single day. I tell people every single day that, I love God. I do many Bible studies on there every day. I And I went on there and posted a video, and I will share part of that with you, what I said in that video. And that video is, Jesus pulled me out of the pits of hell, because that's where I was. In 2024, when I was saved, I was in the pits of hell, and Jesus saved me. He saved my life by me walking through that door and going to church for the first time in many, many years. Jesus saved my life. I just wasn't at the right church yet. Now that I am at the right church, I'm volunteering. I'm doing all the things that, people say you're just checking off, but I'm enjoying it. I'm having fun doing it, and I'm doing it out of love, not obligation. And that's something that I think people don't understand, is that just because, yes, I am doing all these things and I'm doing them through the church, doesn't mean I'm doing it to check off a box. I'm not doing it out of obligation. I'm doing it because I love doing it. I love serving God. And that was a hard pill, I think, for a lot of people to swallow, a lot of my friends at the time to swallow this big change in me. I stopped cussing, and that was a big thing. I'm sorry, in the nursing field, there's a lot of cussers in the nursing field, and I stopped cussing. I stopped listening to secular music, and a lot of my friends are like, you always listen to K-Love in your car. And I'm like, well, this is what I like. Or you always have that podcast on. Well, I love listening to podcasts. And it was a big transition for me. And yes, I did fight with the devil, for a few months off and on. But like I was saying, my TikTok popped off, and now I have, 7 orders to go in the mail tomorrow, which just came out of nowhere, between the Etsy shop and the TikTok shop. And, they came out of nowhere. And I'm like, God, that's for you. So everything that I have gotten and received from the Fruitful Fig has gone back into, the business, buying new supplies to restock what we've sold. I have not kept any money for myself. It's all going back into the business. And then God told me, I want you to start a podcast. And that is when I said, absolutely not. Because I barely know how to do a TikTok video. How in the world am I going to do a podcast, God? And again, I haven't even been saved a year. This is only months. And you want me to do a podcast about you, for you? So once again, I told God, you're crazy. You are crazy. And he told me, trust me, I will guide you. So here I am, going all in with God. My boyfriend had a microphone he didn't use anymore. I have my laptop. I did buy the headphones, and here I am. I'm going all in. I'm going all in for God, and I really wanted to start out with my testimony on here. My testimony, I came from a very deep, dark place. Like I said, I did gain 2 beautiful daughters, but I went through a lot. I did a lot of worldly things. I was very sexually immoral. I was I had addiction issues. I drank way too much. I, I just, I jumped back and forth between guys like it was nothing. I dated the same man pretty much over and over again, expecting a different outcome every time. It it was scary. The life that I was living was scary. I lived with several guys during this time that I was before I was saved. I lived with several different guys, and it was every time was worse. I remember the worst was when I was pulled down the apartment stairs by my hair. And that's kind of what stopped that relationship. Was I realized that I was going to die if I didn't stay, or if I stayed I was going to die, so I did leave. But it becomes it's a lot of trauma to have to work through. And thankfully my mom saw everything going on, and she kept trying to get me to go to church with her, and I wouldn't do it. And it took losing my dad, which was heartbreaking, for me to finally be like, well, maybe this is what's missing. And as awful as losing my dad was, he brought me the greatest gift. My dad gave me the greatest gift. And I found God, and I have an actual relationship with God now. And I never would have had that without losing my dad. And as much as I wish he was here to see me and be proud of me and everything else, I have to say that, again, I am here and I am saved, and I would not be here without my dad. I bought a house this past year, which is crazy because, like I said, I did some awful things. My credit was ruined for a very long time, and I was able to buy me and my kids a house. I'm able to provide for me and my kids, which I haven't been able to always do in the past. This past year with God and going all in with God has been, he saved my life. Jesus saved my life. There is no doubt about it. Jesus saved my life. And I can't wait to share more with you. Yes, I do still struggle with shame, and that's something that I am working on. I know there is a Bible verse that talks about that, where Lot's wife turned into a pillar of salt. And that is something I'm working on, because I feel shame a lot, and maybe we can talk about that more in the next episode, is forgiveness and shame and how they kind of correlate together. But going back to my testimony now is amazing, where I feel, and I'm so thankful for where I am now, and it's all because of God. God did it all. I wouldn't be alive. I would not be alive if Jesus hadn't have stepped in and saved my life. And that's a hard pill to swallow for some people, I know. Because it was a hard pill for me to swallow, is that I would not be alive if Jesus hadn't have saved my life. Because that's where I was going. I like I said, I had attempted 3 times, and I've been in the hospital 4 times for suicidal ideation. I was in the deepest, darkest pits, and Jesus brought me out of those. He told me I was not alone. I'm not unworthy. I am worthy. And that God is qualifying me. I kept telling God and that I was not qualified to do what he was asking me to do. And he told me that him calling me qualifies me. So there is that saying where God doesn't call the qualified, he qualifies the called. And I completely believe that is what he is doing with me right now. And my life is changing for the better. I'm in school again to, further my education. My kids are thriving. I am thriving. We have this wonderful house. We are thriving, and it's all because of God. And I cannot wait to see what all God has in store for us. I do want to kind of do themes for the episode, so I have always wanted to try teas. So I think maybe tea time, maybe once every other week we could do a tea time. If y'all drop in the comments what kind of tea you like, because I am very uncultured when it comes to tea. I drink sweet tea, and that's about where it ends. So I would love to expand my time, and we could have tea time where we just chit chat about God and what he's doing in our lives. And I think that would be wonderful. And if tea time doesn't sound good, if y'all think of something different, let me know. But I think tea time with God would be a great thing to do at least once a month, if not every other week for a while. So just so we can see the growth in everybody, you can share it in the comments. Like I said, this is the very first episode of the Becoming Fruitful podcast. I cannot wait to grow and know you all. We are brand new, and this is affiliated with the Fruitful Fig. You can find us on Etsy and TikTok. And, God has done so much for me, and I just can't wait to help guide other people into what he can do for you as well. And the verse that kept popping up every single time I would tell God no, I have it on the back of my phone. I'm going to read it to you now. Every time I would tell God no, I'm not qualified for that, he would tell me, "For I know the plans I have for you, declares the Lord, plans to prosper you and not to harm you, plans to give you hope and a future." Jeremiah 29:11. I am currently doing a Bible study series on Jeremiah on TikTok. We're doing a chapter a day, and I think once we're completely done with the book, I will do a whole episode about the book of Jeremiah, because it's been such an amazing thing for me, and I am so grateful for everything that is going on in my life right now, for everything that God is doing in my life right now. I cannot wait to share more with you guys. I hope I did not scare you away. Like I said, I was in a rough spot for a very long time. I was worldly from the time I was 15, from the time I was 15 till I was 32, I was worldly. And Um, so that's 15 plus years where I did not know God and I did not have a relationship with God. And, God's completely changed my life. And I just want to grow with Him. And I hope this podcast can help us grow together. And I think we're going to wrap it up for now. So I can't wait for episode 2. I think episode 2, we're going to do shame and forgiveness. But can we do something awesome today? Can we just share our love with Jesus with someone? I kind of got this off of my favorite podcast right now. Shout out Ali Yost. And just, can we share the love of Jesus with someone? Whether that be monetary, whether it be a smile, whether it be a kind word. Let's just be kind and go from there. We'll see you next week.